Evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's forum meeting. The declaration of opening is made at 5:30 p.m. For our member of the public and anyone online. Just a reminder, tonight's a forum, so it's a question and answer night. It's not a decision-making night. That all the decisions will be made next week at the ordinary council meeting. So it's a chance for councillors to have any queries about all the items presented to us tonight. So we have item number 2, which is opening procedures. Item 2.1 is acknowledgement of country. So I'd like to invite Councillor Mencelli to present the acknowledgement to country.
Okay, the Shire of Northam would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Balladong and Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you, Councillor Mencelli. So item 2.2 is recording of council meetings. So members of the council who are aware and members of the gallery, which is members of the public, are advised this meeting will be live streamed. It has been live streamed now and audio recorded, and it's made available on the Shire of Northam's YouTube channel. If members of the public would like to have access to the recording of this meeting, they can do so via the Shire of Northam website. So item number 3 is attendance, attendees. We have the councillors as sitting around the table: Councillor Biglan, Councillor Gierak, birthday, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Williams, Councillor Mencelli, President Antonio, Councillor Atherton, Councillor Holton and Councillor Hughes are all in attendance. The staff as listed are all here. So D. Terrelly, Paul Devsich, C. Hunt, C. Young, J. Byers, A. McCall, T. Van Beek, all in attendance. So we are now on page 7. So item 3.2 is apologies, that is nil. Item 3.3, approved leave of absence, that is nil. Item 3.4, absent, that is nil. Just go down the page. So we go to page 8, which is item number 4, disclosure of interest. We have 2, so I'll just read those out quickly. So we have one from Councillor Williams on item 13.1.1, lease of former Bakers Hill Fire Shed L217, Great Eastern Highway, Bakers Hill, Reserve 22401. Councillor Williams has declared impartiality. Several members of Bakers Hill RSL and Bakers Hill Out of School Care are known to Councillor Williams. Councillor Williams has been involved in many discussions with both parties and others about this lease/property. It's impartial or possible potential perception only. Same item, Councillor Biglan has declared impartiality. Councillor Biglan, members of the Bakers Hill RSL are known to Councillor Biglan, so that's impartial as well. Haven't received any at this stage, but all councillors know as the item comes up, they're quite able to make a declaration of interest at that time. We now go to page 9. So that's item number 5, announcements by the presiding member without discussion. So that is there, I'll take that as read. Then we go to page 11. So we have item number 6, which is public questions. So just a reminder to the members of the gallery, there's 2 sections where you can be involved in a meeting. One is now, where you can ask a question, and in a couple of minutes there's a couple of items. There's an item called deputations, where you can make applications, you make a statement should you wish to do so. If you would like to ask a question first, I forgot to tell you, Jane, if you do want to ask a question, can you please stand and come up to here? So we'll put that microphone on just so people can hear you. You can do it. And please stand, say your name and question and microphone. Sorry? So if there's no public questions, that's fine. No? All good? Okay, so we'll come back to you in a minute. So then we go still the same page. Item number 7 is response to previous public questions taken on notice. There was 3 from the last ordinary council meeting, so they are as listed, so I don't need to read those out because they have been provided in here and in letter format. So then we go to page 12, which was item 8, receiving of petitions, presentations and deputations. 8.1 petitions is nil. 8.2 presentations is nil. 8.3 deputations. This is when I will go back to the members of the public and see whether you'd like to make a statement about anything at this stage. I still have to do it anyway, just in case. So that's fine if you don't, that's good. So we're still on page 13, so we have item number 9 is applications for leave of absence. That is nil. And then we go to item number 10 on page 14, confirmation of minutes. 10.1 is confirmation of minutes from the ordinary council meeting held 21st of August 2024. I've seen if there's any questions or queries regarding those minutes, councillors. No. So then we go, item 10.2 is notes from the council forum meeting held 11th September. That's tonight. So we'll deal with that next week, but that's just listed there so everyone knows. Item number 11 is items brought forward for the convenience of those in the public gallery. That is nil. So I'll continue on as normal. Item number 12 is reports of committee meetings. That is nil. So then I will go to page 15. So item 13 is officer reports. 13.1 is the CEO's office. 13.1.1 is lease of former Bakers Hill fire shed, block 217 Great Eastern Highway, Bakers Hill, reserved 22421. If I read that out wrong in the councillor's declarations, I apologise. But just a reminder that both Councillor Williams and Councillor Bigland declared impartiality in this item, and I believe Councillor Mincelli is declaring impartiality in this item.
The RSL one, yep.
Yep, the same one. So we've got all the background there, councillors. So I was seeing if there was any questions or queries on this item. Yep, Councillor Williams.
Several years ago, the RSL were granted something over a property on Great Eastern Highway. I don't know if it's a lease or what. There's still a sign up on that property. That was potentially where they were going to position their club rooms, whatever. I was just wondering if that is still in their possession or what's happening with that property, please.
Yes, so they do currently hold a lease for a reserve on Great Eastern Highway. If they were successful in acquiring the old Bakers Hill fire shed, they are looking at relinquishing that lease.
Further questions, councillors? No? Okay, so we go to page 24. So 13.1.2, support for regional study hub funding application. Questions on this, councillors? Yeah, Councillor Hughes.
If you use the old town council building, will you have to put a lift in? It wasn't mentioned there, you may have to. Would you have to?
I suspect you would, but I'll check with the staff. You have to be accessible. So
I have had a discussion with Regional Development Australia about Create 298 being a possibility. They did think there could be other ways that the accessibility could be managed in terms of using the downstairs area. So they're suggesting it wouldn't necessarily involve putting in a lift, but there would have to be some arrangements made to ensure that the service was accessible to people who couldn't use the stairs.
Yeah, Councillor Wright.
This is the exciting project. With New Rest being close by, is there an option B? The lift is expensive. We have to use a lift or install something like that with that building. Could we have a shuttle bus service between here and New Rest Uresco is already a university campus, and certain facilities, or classrooms and things are allowed. There's also lecturers there, which help and mentor others, the students and things. Just wondering whether that's a natural synergy.
We did have that discussion, or I did have that discussion as well with Regional Development Australia. Their preference is probably to have it in a central location like a town, because there are people around. There's often things like CCTV, that type of thing. And the reason for that is often the students that use the hub, and this comes from their experience at the other hubs, the students are using the hubs in the evenings because a lot of the students work during the day, so they're accessing the hubs in the evening. So that's the reason why in the other towns that have got them, they are centrally located.
And when I spoke to RDO as well, they said they'd still try and use St Mary's campus, but the hub would be in town. And use it as a facility. That was their aim.
Okay.
Yeah. Councillor Bigland.
Recent create 298, where we are currently doing a new list with the bottom half, or am I got the wrong building?
No, you're correct. You're right.
So what will happen with that?
So this is proposing to use the upstairs area, not the downstairs.
So the staff, what are we doing with them?
They would only need a portion of the building. So the intention would be that they would use the big meeting room area, potentially one of the offices, and they'd also have access to the kitchenette and the toilets as well.
Sorry, subsequent question. So from confidentiality point of view, from the Shire's documentation, how are we going to manage and control that?
And I guess in terms of the pros and cons, that was one of the cons, in terms of then we would have to find ways of restricting access to those other offices to ensure that they could be locked, basically, particularly obviously after hours if that's when the students are going to use it.
Thank you.
Councillor Appleton.
Has there been any consideration of implementing the TAFE building in town?
I think the preference is to actually have the hubs away from TAFE to provide that alternative study location. And again, the TAFE's not centrally located.
Councillor Giro.
So in regards to the other option, providing the $20,000 cash contribution towards the facility for 3 years. So that would definitely be only for 3 years. We would not need to fund it any further.
It's difficult to say whether it would be any further. The only reason that it's 3 years is because if we were successful in getting the funding from, or if RDA was successful in getting the funding from the federal government, it would only be for a 3-year period. So that's why it's 3 years initially. And I think if it was to go beyond that, there would have to then be further discussions with the Shire about what support we may provide after that.
Further questions, councillors? Councillor
Is
Hughes.
it only 3 years because they want to see how it's going to go? I mean, it's a bit silly to set something up like that and only say it's 3 years and then let everybody down. Is it a success that's going to make it go longer?
So a lot of federal government funding programs are only for a defined period of time, and that's the same with this funding program as well. So it's for 3 years. I would imagine if it was successful and there was the demand for it, then you would hope that the federal government will continue to support it. But as it stands at the moment, that's the funding program.
Councillor Giro first, then Councillor Bigland.
So in regards to if we provide just the funding, then by the maths what we can see here, we $8,000 out of pocket, roughly, because we not gonna receive we're gonna receive the $4,000 per year for the rent. But if we allow create 298 to be used for the facility, is there any other outgoing expenses that we need to cover. It's obviously fitting our facility and paying additional.
So the funding program actually allows for some capital upgrades. So if you had to do things like petitioning, if you needed to attach desks to the walls and do some fit out and that type of thing, that can be included with the grant. And the outgoings like electricity and that type of thing can be included as part of the grant funding as well. So what other local governments have done is their contribution really has been around the provision of a facility for the hub to operate from.
Councillor Bigland?
Where within the budget would we get up to $20,000?
We would have to consider that as part of the mid-year review to see whether we would have the funding available. Noting, however, with the timeline that it's likely in 24-25, if RDA was successful with getting the funding, we may or may not have to make the contribution in this financial year, but it's certainly something, and by the time we got to actually considering the mid-year budget, the timing of that, we would know whether RDA has been successful with their funding application.
Yeah, Councillor Geary?
Just a question in regards to the Shire had the pop-up shop on the main street. I don't know what the plans are with that facility. Would that be suitable for that purpose?
We haven't actually identified which would be the suitable site at this point in time. I guess RDA is just in a position where they want to put in the funding application, but they need to understand whether Shire would provide any level of support. But certainly it could be an option.
And Councillor Geary, if I was going to ask a question, similar question, just like I can ask it, have the RDA considered the old Red Cross building? Because that's getting repurposed, so something like that. So there's other potentials to answer your question. Councillor Polton.
They can still put through the application for funding without the Shire putting financial contribution to.
They could. I think what they're thinking with the applications that they've had previously is that they've had more success if the Shire is supportive and they have got that support. Potentially we could. This is probably the type of support that's been provided by other local governments, but other local governments have the option of, for example, making space available in the CRC, but we don't have a CRC, so it's a bit more challenging in Northern from that perspective.
So further questions, councillors? No, then we'll make a decision on that next week. So we go to page 30. So 13.2 engineering services is nil. 13.3 development services. 13.3.1 proposed scheme amendment 23 Avon Industrial Park stage 4. Any questions on this? Yeah, Councillor Ryan.
Just with regards to the rezoning the southern portion, lot 11, from Parks and Recreation to Railway, is that likely to be taken up at all? Is that on the cards?
Direct to Mr. Hunt.
I think that's they're doing the future planning for it. So I guess what the thinking is at this stage to put the mechanism in place so that if it ever does come to fruition and they get funding, that they don't have to go through the rezoning process. So, yeah.
Further questions, councillors? I did have one. On page 34, it makes a statement, I'm paraphrasing here because I've got the page in front of me, about Leeming Road being suitable. It's phrasing it as a question. How suitable is the southern end of Leeming Road given the amount of trucks delivered to CBH, especially during summer?
I believe that comment's relating to the Great Eastern Highway end of Leeming Road, but yeah, that's not obviously the opposite end of Leeming Road is not up to that standard, so that's what the comments relating to that, not the other section.
I mean, I can't ask that question in things. Other questions on this item, councillors? No? Then we go to page 72. So 13.4 is corporate services, 13.4.1 accounts and statements of accounts, August 2024. Any questions? I haven't seen anything come via email. I think Councillor Biggin has a question. I don't know if you're just flicking off a flyer and asking a question.
I do have questions. Page 78 and 79 is to do with the pint meals. Now, I would say I'm not familiar with how it works. Do we get subsidised from the state government in relation to Killara to providing these meals, or is this out of our budget? And if so, do we also have a kitchen within Killara, and are we not providing or making these meals ourselves?
And find out who's going to answer.
As I understand, we are funded for this. The kitchen is a kitchen for them to do the meals in, and they have been working with the environmental health officers to make sure that we're meeting all legislation. So we're currently undergoing the recruitment of a cook to be able to come in and prepare those meals for them. Did I miss anything?
No, so longer term, the intent is to make them and provide them ourselves as opposed to purchasing and buying them.
Yes.
Another question? I'm sure you know them.
It's further down, but do you want me to ask all my financial questions now?
That's right, then we'll see how we go.
This is in relation to the Booyah Festival costings. Can someone please advise me where within budget the $22,000 for the Northern Urban Association came from first?
You should be able to.
I'll get for grab budget. Come back and hold up.
If the next one's for Colin, or is it for Jen?
No, they're all for Colin.
Just for Councillor Biggin, just for reference, a page so that councillors can have a look.
Page, they start at page 2. All the Booyah Festival questions are starting from page 275. Page 87, sorry. There's quite a few. I went through the whole.
Page 87, is it so?
I'm just trying to get the paper. Sponsorship, it says page 96. If I've got it right. Yeah, 96, sponsorship 11%, 24. I do see that within the budget of the OTH Cultural Festival and events, there's the Northern Booyah Festival, which is 95,500 in totality. I guess my question is the 22,000 form part of that 95,500, which then leads me to my next question. Oh, I could have given them one.
Oh, you got have a good time.
Mine's only the draft, but it's pretty. That was page 96, and then
I'll endeavour to answer that while Mr Young is seeking the information, but my understanding is that the Billia Festival is actually delivered by the Shire, and then the sponsorship to the Avalon Descent, I would say, is a separate sponsorship contribution on additional to the Billia Festival, but Mr Young may be able to confirm that.
So page 96, Mr Young. Oh, sorry, of ours.
I believe it is a separate line item. I just haven't seen it at the moment. Just let me have a look for it and I'll let you know.
look on your page 84 if it's coming under the rec, if it come under the rec grant.
No, it's not on page 84. It's not page 84. I think it's got a separate line item. I'll find it for you.
So probably start with the next question before Mr Young's looking for that.
While I was looking for that, so if it does have a separate, I just asked that, if it's not a separate line item and it forms part of the 95,500, the grand total to date is that we have spent $99,150,000, which is obviously over the $95,500 that we've budgeted for. If that is the case, where have we pulled the other money from to pay for the 11%? The rest of it? Take it on notice.
Probably take that one on notice.
Yeah, yes, if I can keep that on notice and I'll supply a breakdown to councillors next week.
Thank you. On page 86,
Their agenda.
our agenda, yes. Country Comforts Northern, there's a governance capital purchase. I appreciate you'll have to take these all on notice. Country Comforts Style Northern for $887. Just what was that for? And then on page 103 of our again is a total of $4,352 at the bottom of the page for Country Comfort Style Northern for various purchases for the Rangers for capital purchase. Again, what were they for? And that also included Kalara capital purchase and admin capital purchases. And then this on page 112 is for the Wundowie men's shed. Is this for the yak shack and or the men's shed, and what were the repairs done? And
I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to take it on.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm just reading for the camera as well.
And page 118, we spent $3,431.94 at Woolworths. Is that for a variety of, like the rec centre, admin building, what purchases were they for? Thank you.
Further questions on this item? Councillor Williams?
Yes, just wondering if we are still going to be sending in athletes in the future, or whether we're going to be doing more verbally at the meetings.
It depends if you want me to take more notice and give you the answer afterwards. I'm easy either way, but in general, there's not probably many of them we're going to be able to answer on the fly.
Yeah.
I think the preference is, if possible, to see them in prior so that we do have answers available.
Sorry, Mr. President, I was advised that if we wanted it recorded, we had to ask them at the meetings, otherwise they're not recorded and we just get the responses via email. So hence why I had asked questions, and I am mindful that they will come back. So I'm comfortable with that.
And I did have one. This is a really easy one, Colin. I ask it every year. On page 75, I just wanted to confirm payroll. We had 3 pays in August versus 2 in most months. Thank you. Other questions, councillors? Oh, Councillor Mancelli.
Yeah, I've got a couple. The first one relates to a water account for a property at Turner Street, and it was from August 2021. It's on page 83. The amount is $1,296.78. I'm just wondering why payment's been delayed for so long.
I haven't taken on notice, but in some of the cases with the meters, they can't be accessed, so I'm not sure if that's one of the meters or not. And then when they do get accessed, then you get that bill. Because what they do is they just keep doing an estimate until we get the actual water bill. But I'll take it on notice and check it.
Okay. All right, and there's just one other one. It was $977.70 to Metro Filters for the Rivers Edge Cafe. Now, are we responsible for that?
What was the page reference for that?
Unfortunately, I didn't have write down the page reference, but I've got the EFT reference. 51680.
We can take it on notice and
Yeah.
get an answer.
Page 111.
Sorry?
111. Page
111,
111.
page 111.
Oh, sorry, page 95.
Sorry?
Page 95.
Okay.
Sorry.
I can answer that the lease for the Rivers Edge CAF does have us responsible for doing them. That's correct.
That's a question. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. My other question, I guess, is we're expending a lot of money on this particular facility, aren't we? Yes.
I think
The answer is yes.
I think the question mark at the end of that. So further questions, councillors? So no, so then we go to page 133. So 13.4.2, monthly financial report for the period ending 31st July 2024. Any questions on this? Probably if you do have any questions on this, it'll probably be asked in the next section because it's covering it covers both months anyway. So I'll just take that as no questions. Go to page 149. So 13.4.3, monthly financial report for the period ending 31st of August 2024. See if there was any other queries on this one. Any queries, not any other queries. Any queries on this one, councillors? I did have one, sorry, Colin, on page 154. There was noting that in that report, there was a couple of income items that were down, such as the transport, quite down by a fair bit, law or the public safety. When I had a look at the explanation comments up above, it didn't seem to cover all those, so you've probably taken a notice, just seeing whether it's a matter of timing, because it's only because they're out by a fair bit for those individual items. Like one was 43% down, one was 40% down, one was 67% down.
Yep.
Yes, we only actually report the variances for since last year when the Act changed on nature and time, so we no longer report by program.
Yeah.
So I'll just clarify through the comments, it does say with the capital grants that they're under budget due to timing of the receipt of the ESL BFB capital grant and the roads to recovery grant. So that would be emergency services and transport.
Okay, thank you. Other questions on this, councillors? No, then we go to page 166. Oops.
I see 165.
Thank you. No wonder it wasn't going to that page. 13.5 is community services, Neil. And then we've got item 14, matters behind closed doors. So Councillor Mancelli is moving that. Councillor Bigland is seconding that. It's procedural, so I'll put that straight to the vote. So all those in favour? That's 9-0, that's carried. Members of the public, we've just got to do a couple of things behind closed doors. quite welcome to stay and enjoy some tea, but if you can you just go to the kitchen, just that. We'll direct you, we'll take you out and bring you back in. Thanks everyone, it's here. So we're in the confidential part of the agenda. So we've got 14.1, sale of land for recovery of unpaid rates. So lots of these, so questions on this.
Yeah, I'll start.
Yeah, Councillor Mancelli.
Yeah, the first question I want to ask is, some of these have been outstanding for a long time, and I question why.
Three of the properties are related to Spencer's Brook, and they're in our flood zones. We actually had a policy done on it and adopted by council about 6 months ago, so we're finally in a situation that we can sell them off. Before we were wondering, until we had that policy done, if they could be developed on at all. So we were thinking of taking and giving them back to the state. Two of the other ones that are for Marv Holdings, and they actually own that company quite a lot of properties within the Shire.
Yep.
They've been problematic for years since I've worked at the Shire. They start a payment arrangement, they pay it for a little while and then they stop. So these two properties, they haven't paid anything for years. They've got another half dozen or so properties that they have been paying on. They probably believe they're better properties and they don't want to lose them. So we think it's time to move on them as well.
Questions, councillors? Looks like you had another one, Councillor Mancelli.
I do. Well, these are all vacant lots, take it, and I'm just wondering why they can't be released to the general public for utilisation for the construction of housing. I guess that'll happen in due course, won't it?
That will happen when we auction something from the public. I'll have an opportunity to
Yes, no question. Councillor Wright.
So in terms of the likely costs to cost recovery, what are we looking at from a legal perspective? And just I know we'll probably get some of that back, but we're going to have to fork out the outlay initially.
I would believe that all the properties that if they sell, we'll recover all debts outstanding. That includes legal costs and any interest, any Shire rates. Probably to do the auctions, you're probably looking at like 5,000 per property.
Further questions, councillors? Yeah, Councillor Ryan.
And that will come out of which budget of money?
It comes out of legal costs through governance, recoverable, but it all added to the rates and it's all recoverable under the Act. In the current market, we have no concerns that we're not going to, and that properties aren't going to sell enough to recover full cost of the Shire.
Yep, Councillor Polkman.
It says over 3 years that they have been paying rates for. How many years has it been?
I couldn't tell you on each one. I can certainly get you that information per each property, but by the amount of outstanding debts, I'd say it would be anywhere between 7 and 10.
Going in the shed.
Yeah, it's in the shed with brief.
Further questions, councillors? Okay, no worries. We go to page 15 of 100, so 14.2. Lease agreement for hangar 40 and 41 Northern Airfield. So questions on this? Did have a question. A future lease is not going to have the same errors. So what mitigation channels have we got in place not to have these same sorts of errors pop up?
So we have a documented process in our process manager system, and it also should go through several stages of review prior to being executed.
Thank you. Further questions? I think Councillor Geary, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we didn't have a standard template for these kind of leases, which would, you know, eliminate this problem in the first place.
So we have recently changed our solicitors that we use for developing the leases, and that's something we are currently working on now, that we do have a batch of leases which are expired.
Further questions, councillors? No, so then we go to page 50 of 100, which is purchase of A14476, the one that we discussed very recently. So questions on this, councillors? I did have one. It was, from the way I understand it, on that page 56, the funding for it would be by reducing the roadworks on the direction east towards Paul and Sheen. We'd be lowering the amounts of works on those, or saving money somehow on all those 4 projects. Now, I've got any questions, but if we sell the property, would those budget amounts go back up to the original amount?
I have requested that the money comes back. Savings have been done from the lower purchase price for gravel. So we were able to purchase gravel at a lower anticipated rate than we previously budgeted. So that was a cost saving that we were able to pass across for this.
But yes, I can confirm the intention, if we then sell the property, is to return the funds to the roads program.
Yes, so sort of based on what Mr. Dev said, then these projects wouldn't necessarily need the original amount because they're going to be cheaper, so it could be applied to somewhere else in the roads program. Sort of a rhetorical question. Raises the question. Okay, further question there? I thought that was, sorry, Councillor Geary, I thought Councillor Appleton had his hand up, but it was, he was just drinking.
I just drove past the property today and I noticed that there's another block which the footpath also cutting off. I'm just wondering if
that's the case.
It's going to be the case, and we're setting a precedent. If we're purchasing this, then we might getting another. It's not quite as bad as this one, but there's an empty block.
Is it on the same street?
Yeah.
So just down a little bit further towards the school? I don't
know if it's got another access, but it's definitely the footpath is cutting off the access from.
So yeah, I might need to grab the address or take it on notice, but I think from the investigation that we've done, there's no other retaining or areas where we'd completely obstructed the ability for the owner to put in a compliant crossover.
Councillor Keary, if you give the address to Mr.
Yeah, it's just if you guide on, you'll see the block. It's not quite as low as the other one, and it hasn't got the fencing, the retaining wall, but it's.
Yeah, so the expense associated with the making this one a compliant access is the fact that we would have to remove curbing, the footpath, the retaining, and then reinstate it so that it's a compliant footpath. But any other blocks that have been impacted, it's just more of a introducing film, we can achieve a compliant access without having to do substantial civil works.
Further question, Councillor Bolton?
Last time we spoke about this, one of the considerations was see if we can sell it to the neighbours. We engage with them yet.
From my understanding, we'd need to seek further direction from council, so that will be a discussion for later. But yeah, I think the intent would be to entertain that as the first course of action and try to recoup some of the losses from
Yeah, I think the problem would be is if we approach the neighbours now, we haven't even got,
Yeah, we need to go through the process.
Yeah. Councillor Hughes, please.
Cut off the roadworks to get that 30,000. Just say it comes in this, it takes 12 months to get 30,000 back, perhaps all the little bits.
So the cost savings at the moment have been from the purchase of gravel, so.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yes.
I remember that.
You're just testing to see whether the answer. So further on to what? Further questions, councillors? No, then if not, we go back to page 165. Now I've got the right page number. So 14.3, can I just have a recommendation we move it back out? I saw, oh crikey, Councillor Mangelli, Councillor Ryan, they're both on my left, I saw their face. So all those in favour by show of hands, that's 9-0, that's carried. Just wait for the members of the public to come back in and then I'll finish up. Thank you. Welcome back. So item 15, we're still on page 165. 15, motion to which previous notice has been given is nil. Item 16 is urgent business approved by decision is nil. Item 17 is declaration of closure is made at 6:17 p.m. I'd like to thank everyone, councillors, for the questions and inputs, members of the staff for all the answers and the work in preparing the agenda, members of the public for attending, and you following the stay. I'll just wait for the recording to finish.